Hello, hello. We are live. I am so excited to be here with you today. Today is an interesting topic. We're going to be talking about reinvention, tackling something new that will help you be the kind of person you know you were meant to be. And I'm going to talk about how the reinventions that I have had in my life in the last 13 or so years have helped me to make my move to France and settle in nicely here. So, before we get started, I want to make sure that you can hear me. If you can hear me, type in where you're joining from. Okay. And let me see. Bonjour, Dee Curtis. So glad that you are here. So you can hear me, obviously. So I am glad that you can. Now, if you are new here, I am Patricia Brooks, and I moved to France 7 years ago. And it was something that was kind of out of the blue for me. And I came and I was not working. I was on a career break. And now I have created my own business here. That's another reinvention. And I help people who are ready to start the next chapters of their lives living and thriving in a foreign country, right? And it's been amazing. Been an amazing 7 years. And I can't wait to jump into this topic of reinvention, turning over a new leaf, starting something new so that you can show up exactly how you know you want to. All right. So, who else do we have here? We've got April from Atlanta, and Dee Curtis is from Minnesota. We've got Tina from Phoenix, Arizona. Oh, great, great. So glad that you are here today. The way that I'm going to run this is I'm going to talk about three key reinventions that have helped me to make the move to France, because without them, I don't know that I would have been able to do it. But they weren't necessarily directly related to a move abroad, because I really didn't have this dream of living in France before, I guess, around 2015, 2016 timeframe. And it was this idea, a thought, a desire, but not necessarily something I really truly believed was possible for me. But after, changing some habits and building some confidence in some areas, it started to look like it was more and more likely for me. And so that's what I did. So gonna tackle the first one now. On the thumbnail for this video, I showed myself in, I think it was 2009, and then a picture of me in 2014. And what is remarkable about the before and after picture is that in the 2009 picture, I weighed 75 pounds more than I do today. And that is the first reinvention I want to talk about. And it was something that I decided I wanted to do because I was going through a divorce. I was at a job that paid me really well. I was a project manager. I was in a contract role, and so wasn't given the meaty project lead positions, but more of a supporting role. And I felt like my life was out of uh, my control. I was going through that divorce. It was a messy one, and I thought, what could I do to read something in a book, actually. It was a book by Stuart Wilde, and it said, if you want to be accepted, accept yourself. If you want to be respected, respect yourself. And the thing that was missing in my life at that point in time was a challenge, right? I was doing work that I could do with my eyes closed, and I love a challenge. And so I added to, if you want to be accepted, accept yourself. If you want to be respected, respect yourself. If you want to be challenged, challenge yourself. And that's when I went looking for a challenge that I could have control of. And I remembered about 12 years earlier, I had signed up for Weight Watchers and I'd lost 50 pounds. And I remember how good that felt and how in control I felt. And I thought, yeah, that's probably a really good challenge because that's a challenge that I will be able to be in control of. I'm the only one who is putting food in my mouth and nobody is forcing me. And so that was a challenge I decided to take on. And so I started it on March 14th, 2012. And 13 months later, I had lost 75 pounds. But reinvention is not an easy thing to do. And a lot of people ask me, how were you able to lose all of that weight? Well, it wasn't easy, and it took discipline, but I had the support of my Weight Watcher meeting. Each week, I went into that meeting and I weighed in. That was the thing that kept me on the straight and narrow. And my first week, I actually gained weight, and that could have been a point in time when I decided that I was just going to yeah, this isn't going to work for me. But I dug my heels in, and I continued. In that next week, I lost weight, right? So it wasn't always easy, but it was changing my habits. It was changing how I ate. I was eating. I learned to eat, 3 meals with snacks in between, so I didn't get really, really hungry. And then when the meal came, I would just eat whatever was in sight. I learned to eat different kinds of food, and I also learned to um, exercise more, activity. And it was basically, in the beginning, it was walking more, and then I added on karate, and little by little, you know, half a pound here, a pound there, 2 pounds here. I had lost all that weight, and so that is the first reinvention I want to talk to you about. And I also want to share with you uh, that there are two types of reinventions. And this is something I learned on February 1st. Now, February 1st was my first Women Rising Roundtable. That was a topic that we spoke about, reinvention. And I learned that there were two types: small r reinvention and big R reinvention. And so my weight loss is a combination of the two. It started out as a small R reinvention, those small habits of changing my eating habits, what I ate, when I ate it, changing my activity. And little by little, I lost all that weight. And by the time I'd lost that weight, had hit my goal weight and celebrated at Weight Watchers. I still looked in the mirror and did not see a thin person. That was delayed. I think maybe it took a year or maybe even a little more before I actually saw myself as a thinner person. And maybe, 18 months to 2 years after I'd lost all of that weight before I stopped fearing that I was going to put it all back on, because that was my fear. I'd lost 50 pounds before and put it all back on, every single ounce. And so that was my fear. And so the change to the big R reinvention, where my identity was changed, I was living life as a thin person. I was doing things that thin people do. And that's the big R reinvention. But it was based on those habits that I did to get there, right? And so that is the difference. I've got a question for you. Why is making a change in your life, reinventing yourself, or turning over a new leaf, why is it so challenging for you? Let me know in the comments. Okay. So having done this, having lost, you might be thinking, you're talking about losing weight, and you said that these reinventions helped you to make your move to France. Well, this one did, because it helped to give me confidence in myself, and thinking about what I'd done and seeing the results that the dedication and the determination uh, brought me, helped me to really recognize that, oh, I can do really hard things, right? And so that was foundational for me to make this move abroad. All right. So small R reinvention, changing my habits, big R reinvention. Oh, okay. I am a thinner person. I have the habits of a thinner person. And um, and some of those things I've kind of have slipped away from me because recently my pants have felt a little tight, and that has gotten me walking a little bit more. I have a morning walk routine now. I've added an afternoon walking routine, and I started to weigh myself every week because that is something that was a habit when I was losing weight, something that was a habit when I saw myself as that smaller person. So that's my weight loss story. Let me know if you have questions about that. I'll be able to answer them for you. All right. So Dee Curtis says, it's scary to feel you might fail. I think that is a big factor, right? If I try this thing and I'm not successful, then I will have failed, or I'll see myself as a failure, or people might see me as a failure or judge me. And I think that there's the fear of failure. And I think there's also the other side of things too, especially if you're doing a big R reinvention where you are changing something that's not necessarily so gradual. And that's the fear of what if you succeed? You're going to change. Maybe the people around you will see you differently, or maybe your friends will fall away, or things like that. So that's a big one too. But yeah, it's scary to feel like you might fail. And I think the thing that I want to say with that is, why do you want to make this change in the first place? What's your why for changing a habit? Maybe it's a small R reinvention. You want to change a habit, or for the big R reinvention. Maybe it's something like wanting to make a move abroad. What is your reason? What will that allow you to have, be, do, or become? Right? That, I think, that is the key. And when you can tap into that and really drill down into the reason why, that fear of failure and what would happen if you didn't try to do this thing, then that fear might fade away, right? It might be less intimidating, and you might just step into and work on the change you want to have for yourself. Thanks for sharing that, Dee Curtis. Okay, here we go. Here's another good one. I know how difficult it is to lose weight after 2 pregnancies and now menopause, but I did it. Congratulations, Edelweiss. My issue now is lack of time, and when I do have time, it's daunting. When I when I do have it, it's daunting. So I'm not really clear on what the issue is. The lack of time in maintaining your weight loss? Is it lack of time to make other changes in your life? Let me know. If you can clarify that, that would be great. But congratulations once again. All right, so that's the first R. That's the first reinvention I want to talk about. Losing weight had given me the confidence that I could do hard things, that laid the foundation for me making this move abroad. All right. The second reinvention that helped me make a move abroad, and this was before the weight loss, was getting out of debt. Now, this was triggered by I guess in 2004, I quit my job before. I quit my job before I moved to France, many years before, to pursue an entrepreneurial business. And I was so over my job, and I had had some success with my entrepreneurial business. And I thought, okay, I'm hot stuff now. I'm going to go ahead and tackle this. And so I quit my job, and 6 months later, I was back working a corporate job in a contract role, making much less than the job that I left. And I was so grateful to have gotten that job as quickly as I did, because I blew through the money that I had saved up in order to step away from my job or my corporate job, and I was panicked. And it was then that I realized that my being in debt, credit card debt, revolving lines of credit, my car was something that did not allow me to have as much freedom as I would like. I recognized that I needed a steady income because I had bills to pay. And that was the trigger. That was the trigger for me to make it happen. And so I had to make changes there. I had to be conscious of what I was spending. I had to stop spending. I had to figure out a plan of how I was going to pay down the debt. And I did baby steps. I did Dave Ramsey's baby steps. And little by little, I got myself out of debt. Everything except for the house. And what that allowed me to do was to squirrel away money for my emergency fund. Now, my emergency fund was something that my dad said I needed in case my car broke down, in case the water heater went on the fritz. And so I had listened to my dad, and in getting out of debt, I had all of this extra money to kind of squirrel away to that emergency fund. And so that's what I did. And it was not easy, and it took some time. I think it probably took me 3 or 4 years to pay down all of the debt that I had. But at the end of the day, I was no longer living paycheck to paycheck. I was able to save some money for myself. And then in 2017, when I hired a coach to help me get unstuck, because by 2017, this idea of living in a French-speaking country was really deeply rooted in me, but I really wasn't doing much to make it happen. And I wanted to figure out what was blocking me. So I hired a coach. And in that session, she asked me, well, you really want to do this thing, and I think you'll probably be your best self if you're living there, since this is something you truly want. How much money would it take for you to live in France? How much money would it take for the French authorities to say, okay, you can come stay here, just stay for a year? And I had to look at her and tell her, I really don't know, even though I'd been thinking about making this move for 2.5 or 3 years. And she said, that's your first assignment. You need to look at your finances and see what it would take. And I was afraid to do that. One of the reasons that I hadn't done it to that point was because I thought if I looked and I didn't have enough, that would dash my hopes and dreams of living in France. It's a little bit kind of like, when you are feeling a little overweight and you need to lose some weight, it's like, I really should get on the scale to kind of see where I am so that I can then start checking in and seeing what progress I'm making. It was like, I don't want to get on the scale because I don't want to see the number. I didn't want to look at my bank account because I didn't want to see the number. I was afraid. But I said I'd do it, and I did. And the following week I met with her, and I was happily surprised that money that I'd been squirreling away after I'd gotten out of debt had ballooned into something that could support me in France for at least 3 years. And so I was like, I think that I can do this. And so in January 2017 was when I'd hired the coach. And in January of 2018 was when I made my move to France. And so getting out of debt, something that was really not tied to my move to France, because back in the 2007, 2008 timeframe, that wasn't even on my radar. But it set me up for this big move. And so reinvention and being aware of and being intentional about your reinventions can do that, can set you up for things that you don't even know are in your future. And so I'm so grateful for having done that. So let's see what we got here going in the comments. All right. So we've got a question about, moving abroad. I guess I'll go ahead and answer it since it's here. Moving abroad solo can be challenging. What about moving with a friend or a family member? could that make the move more feasible? I think for some people it could, right? Some people may not have somebody who is interested in making a move abroad. So I think at the end of the day, um, if you're solo and you want to make a move abroad and you would be open to moving with somebody, then you can go ahead and see if you could find somebody. But if you can't, I don't think that that should be the thing that holds you up from doing the thing that you truly want to do. I do a lot of things solo now, like solo travel. And actually, that's the next thing on the list. That was a reinvention for me. And that's a bigger R reinvention. And I'll unpack that in a minute. But can make it more feasible, definitely. All right. Feel free to ask me questions about reinvention, about whatever's on your mind. I'll get to them as I can. Okay. So the third reinvention that I alluded to is solo travel. In 2014, it was 2014. It was just about a year after my mom had passed. And I was looking for a place to go on vacation because I normally drove from Richmond, Virginia to Willingboro, New Jersey to spend time with my mom when I had time off from work. And that I enjoyed that. I enjoy spending time with my mom. I wasn't a big, traveler, and that left a void. I was like, well, what am I going to do with my paid time off from work? And that caused me to think, okay, I want to solo travel. And well, it wasn't that I wanted to solo travel, it was that I didn't want to do a staycation. And I also didn't have anybody who I wanted to travel with or who wanted to travel with me. And so I decided that I was going to go to Quebec City, Canada, which is a place that I remember fondly from my childhood. My family went there, and I remember my parents both took French at university, and I remember them trying to, speak in French and remember the things that they had studied years earlier. And I remember I wanted strawberry ice cream, and they were trying to remember the word for strawberry. And so they couldn't remember it. But of course, the person at the ice cream stand spoke both English and French. And they asked him, and he said, "Oh, it's fraise. The French word is fraise." And so that is a French word I will remember always. Well, anyway, I decided I was going to travel to Quebec City, Canada on my own. And it was this I call a big R reinvention rather than a small R invention. That's kind of, the foundation is a habit that I've changed or habits that I've changed. It was, oh no, I want to do this thing. I don't want to have a staycation. And so I just got to figure it out, get on the plane, figure out how I'm going to get to the hotel, figure out, how I'm going to get out of the hotel room the next day when I need to explore and I'm feeling scared, right? It's just one of those things, kind of like jumping in the deep end. And I'm so glad that I started to solo travel, because this kind of helped me to make my move to France. Because when I went to Quebec City, before I went to Quebec City, I started relearning French. I'd taken French in high school and at university, but I was not good at it. But now I had this desire to be able to speak to the locals in their language. And so I studied the Pimsleur method for 2 or 3 weeks before I went. And I said, "Bonjour, comment allez-vous?" And they responded, and then they added other things in rapid fire French that I could not understand. And then they smiled and they said, "Oh, you speak English. Your accent was so good, it fooled me." And for them, my accent probably was good. Pimsleur method, I think, is known for helping with accents. And I said, "No, English is all I speak." But I was really encouraged, and I thought, maybe I could speak French fluently. Maybe I could live in a French-speaking country. And I really considered Canada, but the winters there would be too cold. So I went back to Quebec City several more times on my own, continued to find my way, got more confident as a solo traveler, and then decided that I was going to consider France. And that is how solo traveling you set me up to make my move to France. It really gave me the idea that French was a language I wanted to become fluent in. It helped me to really see that maybe living in a foreign country was for me, because before that, it really hadn't been on my radars. I talked to a lot of people, and often they'll say, "Oh, since I was 7 or 8, I've wanted to live in France." That wasn't the case for me. France, as I said, was not on my radar. Living in a foreign country was not on my radar until about that 2015 timeframe, and then seriously not until 2017, when I looked at my finances and thought, yeah, I think this could happen. So that's the third reinvention in my life that helped support me to get to France. Which one of those surprises you the most about, my reinvention and getting to France? Let me know in the comments. All right. All right. DD Curtis says, that's one of my big R's too. Scared of solo travel. What scares you about it? I think for me, I don't remember. It's been a while now. I don't remember before going on the trip being scared. I remember on the trip, like, okay, now I'm in this strange airport in the town that I'm going to visit. And now I need to figure out how to get from the airport to the hotel, and kind of navigating the ground transportation there. That was something that was scary for me in the beginning. It was like those connecting points. Okay, once you're on the plane, okay, you can breathe easy, but then you got to figure out the next steps. That was I think the most challenging thing for me. And now it's like second nature for me. So it's really hard for me to remember all of the points that scared me. But now it's just something that I do, and I would prefer to. Sometimes I would prefer to travel with somebody because it takes some of the pressure off. But I know that if I want to go someplace, I don't have to wait for anybody, and that is empowering. That's really empowering. Getting lost in a new country, and the thing of it is, you might. Right? I remember walking around, cities in France when I went on my first scouting trip in when was that? 2016. I remember walking around a city, and you know, and it was supposed to take me 20 minutes to get someplace. It's an hour later because I got lost. I think it's par for the course. But the thing is, I wound up back at my hotel. I wound up back at home eventually. So it's one of those things that, yeah, it probably will happen. And when it does and you find your way back, that's that's a win. That's a big accomplishment. So some of the things that we're scared about, well, that will happen, they might happen, they might not. And if they do, and when you survive them, then that's a notch in your belt. That is something you can say, okay, yeah, it was scary when I was going through it, but you know what? I'm back safe and sound in this hotel, or I'm back safe and sound at the airport, whatever that is. So that's a good point, getting lost. Hi, Tammy. um, you've watched most of my videos. How did I have the wisdom to deal with my body first? It wasn't wisdom. It was really the idea, and it wasn't wisdom, and it really wasn't. I dealt with my body, but it wasn't that wasn't the main goal. The main goal was for me to feel like I had some sort of control in my life. Because going back to that time in my life, I'd filed for divorce. It was pretty messy, and so that was frustrating to me. I was at a contract position, and I was being paid well, but for supportive parts of project management, which is so very needed. But I, at that point was a PMP certified project manager. I wanted to do more leading or more running meetings than taking meeting notes. And so I was really frustrated. I was in a really frustrated position. And so I was looking for something where I could feel like I had some sort of control in my life. So it was just something that I felt I needed at the time, and it just happened to work out for me. And I think there's a piece of that I think my move to France there was wisdom in that, but that was not a conscious wisdom. It was intuitive. It was my intuition that said, "Oh, Patricia, you need to be living in a French-speaking country, and France is a pretty nice country to live in. That's where you should be living." And so for me, that whole year from 2017 to 2018, as I was planning, preparing, I didn't really necessarily feel fear. I felt determined. I felt like, yeah, this is what I need to be doing. I didn't know why I needed to get here, but that it pushed me along. And now I look back on, where I am today and think about how my life would be different if I had not made this move. And I think, oh yeah, there's wisdom all over that move when I moved there. And it was intuition. It was the wisdom to trust my intuition. That's what I'll say about that. So that's a good question. I think for reinventions, for when you want to make a change in your life, whether it's a small habit that's just going to make you feel like the person you want to feel like, or whether it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do something that's a big R reinvention, like a move abroad, or start solo traveling, or whatever that big R reinvention is for you. If you're feeling it and you feel that pull to do it again and again, and maybe it's time to listen to it. Maybe it's time to listen to it. So, oh, and you know what I didn't share with you? I think you've all seen the before and after picture on the thumbnail of this video, of this live stream. If you want to see another one, I can definitely share it with you, but I'm not going to belabor that point. But the thing that I want to share with you is that if you are, at a point in your life, if you're a woman, right? I'm going to speak to the women out there. If you're a woman and you are ready to make a change in your life, right? If you're ready to have a reinvention, whether it's a habit you want to change or it's a big life change you want to make, and you're ready to create a plan that will motivate you, inspire you, and help you stay the course, then on Saturday, May 17th, I am hosting the next Women Rising Roundtable. Now, Women Rising Roundtables are events, online events, where it's an intimate group of women, no more than 12 women join, and we work through a topic. And the topic for the May 17th one is creating your reinvention plan. And let's see, let me put this up here. So this is what it's all about. And there's a workbook, there's a pre-work workbook, so that you can think about, well, what is the reinvention that I want to focus on? Why do I want to focus on? How is that going to change or improve my life? And really kind of getting that foundation done. And then on May 17th, we're going to dig in and we're going to create a plan. and we're going to talk about ways to help hold yourself accountable. We're going to talk about ways to help make sure that you do the things you say you want to do when you want to do them, like time blocking. And it's going to be an amazing 2.5 hours. So if you are interested in joining that, you can go to this website, thecouragecatalyst.com/roundtable, and you can register for that. So as I said, there are limited slots to keep it manageable. And I am so looking forward to working with you during that event. So if you're interested, and I can drop that link in the chat as well. Let's do this. Let's see, comments. Here we go. So there. So what questions do you have for me? Let's see. Yes, yes. My intuition. That is a big topic for me. I never used to value my intuition. It always had to be something logical. Well, it doesn't make sense for me to, quit a good paying job and take a career break and move to France, right? That is not something I would ever have imagined I'd do. And now another reinvention really is these 7 years in France have really helped me to be more spontaneous and more trusting of those hits of intuition. And sometimes it's just small things. I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, I need to do this thing that maybe I've been putting off, or maybe it's just an idea that flashes through my mind. I get up, I write it down, or I take action on it. And so that I don't lose it, because I recognize, I can sense that, oh yeah, this could be good. And an example of that is the Women Rising Roundtable. That was something that I had a flash of inspiration in November of last year, and I said, I want to create a space. I want to create a community. I want to create these roundtables in order to help women feel more empowered, give them a space where they can discuss things that may be holding them back, and so that they can be the person they know is inside themselves. So yes, intuition. I can talk about that all day long. All right, let's see what else we got here. Okay, and these are some technical questions. I can try my hand. Rider skater, does living in the south of France feel isolated compared to living in Paris? Would 50K income in the south of France feel like enough money to pay living expenses and still travel in Europe? Okay, so the first question, I've never lived in Paris, and I don't think I ever would want to. Traveling there, visiting there, absolutely. I think it's really a personal choice where you choose to live. Do I feel isolated here? I don't. I live in an 8,000 person village, and I'll tell you what, I have to run the gauntlet if I go walk through town in the middle of the day, or even in the middle of the morning, because I run into so many people that I know. And so I've built a community here. In the beginning, yeah, it was slow. I was on my own. I am a homebody. I'm an introvert. And so being alone didn't necessarily bother me. But little by little, I built community. So I think to answer your question, I think that you could feel isolated living in a big city, and feel not isolated living in a smaller village, and vice versa, right? I think it's the effort that you put forth in meeting people, getting out, and learning the language. I think was huge for me to kind of make these inroads. That sometimes I'll be walking by, somebody who, has a garden, and they're offering me tomatoes or apricots, right? Those little things to just feel like, yeah, this is home. So I don't know if I answered your first question. And the second question, yeah, probably 50K would be enough. 50K a year, I guess, is what the question is. I think that would be enough. I feel like the work that I do, being an entrepreneur, and the income that I'm earning or have, in the beginning, when I started my business, I was still living on, some of what I was making, but some of my savings. And now, I can live on what I'm earning, and it's not 50K yet. So, do I travel a lot? No, but the 50K, I think you definitely could. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, La Dolce Vita testimonial here. She really enjoyed the last workshop. Won't be able to make this one because you'll be in France. Okay, all right. But so there's the testimonial. These are great opportunities to really kind of dig down, to see what it is you want in life, to work through those things, to be around people who are maybe feeling similar things or have thoughts or suggestions that or share things that kind of spark things in you. So it's a great opportunity. Thank you for sharing. Let's see what else we got here. All right, intuition. Listening to my intuition has changed my life for the better. Dr. O. Yeah. I'd love to hear more about that, because I think it's so underrated. All right. Igami, can you share more about your coaching packages? Okay. So yes, thank you for asking. So I offer a few things. I have one-on-one coaching, and that is, typically is 4 50-minute sessions. Sometimes only 2 are needed, so I can break it down to 2, where and this is if you are not looking for a group, if you are closer to your move date, your move abroad date, then if you're 6 months to your move abroad date, one-on-one coaching might be more in line for you, because my group coaching it's a package with an online course and all of that, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But the one-on-one package is all about working on a specific thing that you want to work through. So some people are planning a scouting trip and they're not really sure how to plan that, what things to consider. So a 2-session package with me probably will do the trick for that. Other people are looking to figure out, okay, I'm struggling to let go of things, to downsize things. And I need help and support and accountability to make that happen. And so they might schedule a 4-session package with me. People may be struggling with learning or being committed to learning a foreign language. Now, I'm not a language coach, but I can help to break through the blocks that you may have in speaking, in learning that language. And having done it myself, I'm a coach and mentor. So, but it's not necessarily just around those 3 items that I talk about. If you're struggling with making a move abroad and you feel blocked and you feel like you need support in getting through that block, and maybe even accountability to help you stay the course so that you can finally make that move, then one-on-one coaching could be for you. I also offer the Carefree Expat Incubator Program. Now, this is my signature program, and it is for single women who are ready to start the next chapters of their lives living and thriving in a foreign country. Now, somebody asked me earlier, could you know, moving with somebody else, could it make it easier? If you don't have that option, or you don't want to move with somebody else, because maybe that might cramp your style, but you still want to do it and not feel like you're doing it all alone, then the Carefree Expat Incubator Program could be the thing for you. Now, this, as I said, has 8 online lessons that takes you through the reinvention of, you know, becoming the kind of person who makes a move abroad confidently and sustainably. So there's a part in that, the beginning part of what's your why do you want to make this move, and what do you envision for yourself, so that you have something that anchors you and will help you to do the hard things, right? And stay the course when it does get hard. But then there's also the habits that you may need to tackle. Maybe you are more introverted and you don't want to move someplace and be isolated, and you need to build the skills so that you can put yourself out there, so that you can, you know, build a community and not feel so alone. Those sorts of things. And then finally in the course, there is the more practical, you know, okay, what are the things that I need to shut down in my current country, and when do I need to do that? What are the things that I need to stand up in my future country before I get there? And when do I need to do that? And really kind of like that planning piece. And so that third module in the lessons is all about that. So you've got that's self-paced. And then you've got the twice weekly group coaching and mentoring calls. Now, these calls are amazing because they're group. So as you are on the calls, other women are raising their hand and saying, oh, I'm struggling with this, or what do you think I should do about that? And they're working through things that are helping them make their move abroad. Now, this program has access for 3 whole years. And so what that means is you're planning a move abroad within the next year to 18 months. You can join this program, do the lessons, set yourself up for success and your mindset up for success, join the calls, plan your work your plan, have the accountability that the group coaching calls allow as well, because that's one way that the women use them. Oh, I am working to build my French language skills, for example. Can you, in the next session, can you hold me accountable? Can you ask me if I did the 5 lessons a week that I said I was going to do? And if not, help me to figure out what's blocking me, so that I can have that consistency, so that I can, you know, build the language skills that I need, that's going to set me up for success. And so there's the private Facebook group as well. And so that is the Carefree Expat Incubator Program. It is by invitation only, because the group is a well-oiled machine. It is, you know, we get along well. There's respect there. It's a community where people feel very free to share what's going on with them. And so in order to do that, you would need to schedule a discovery call with me, a complimentary discovery call. And I can put that link on the screen. And so that we can kind of talk through where you are in the process, and if the group coaching makes sense for you, or maybe the one-on-one coaching makes sense for you. And then we can talk about all of the details about that. All right, so that's that. And then finally, and I can put a link to that in the description, in the chat too, a link to the complimentary discovery call in the chat as well. Comments. And then finally, the last one, well, I have the Women Rising Roundtables every month. And so the website is thecouragecatalyst.com/roundtable. And then finally, I have what is called an information session. Now, this isn't coaching per se. It is an opportunity for you to get on a call with me, a 30-minute call with me, and pick my brain. Like, I share a lot in my YouTube videos, but a lot of times there are questions that people have that I haven't answered, or that are really specific to them. And so they get on an information session. These are paid 30-minute calls where you ask me, you come with your list of questions and you ask me your questions and I answer them. And this is primarily around France, since that's where I'm living. If you were to get on a call and you were moving to Spain, I don't know how much help I would be. But if you're moving to France, the information session is really valuable. And people who have had them have said, oh yeah, just this nugget that you shared here with me, that is worth the price of the call. And that call is currently 75 US dollars. Okay. So if you have questions about anything I shared about my coaching and what I offer, let me know and I will answer that. Let's see. Have I answered all the questions? All right. These comments are just, you're stroking my ego. You guys gotta stop. Patricia, you are an inspiration. Thank you. No, thank you for being here. It just feels right. It feels like I'm doing what I am called to do. So let's see. Okay, here we go. Dr. O has shared a little more details about how intuition has changed her life. I wasn't going to move until the end of the year. My intuition said to leave my job in January. Had I not listened, I would have lost that job anyway. Now leaving in July for Expat Adventure with severance. Yes. Great. Yes. It's amazing. All right, Greta Holman says, I should work with French connections or collaborate with Les Frenchies. I've seen some of the Les Frenchies videos. They're great. French connections, I need to check them out. Thank you. Thank you. Good ideas for collaborations. Yes, I'm still basking in the glow of this La Dolce Vita. I passed in March. I sat for the DELF B2 French exam, and last month I found out that I passed it. You know, and not just the 50 points I needed, I got 74.5 points. And so I was like, that feels so good. Now I had to work. I worked really hard the 6 weeks before learning how to take the test and doing things that I didn't typically do. So I speak French, you know, on a daily basis, but not typically, not a lot, you know, at the store or if I'm, you know, out with French friends, but I work in English, right? So, and I don't necessarily do presentations in French, especially not ones where I have to debate or, you know, argue a point. And so that was something that I had to really work through. Reading comprehension, I'm okay with reading, but I don't read as much as I should. And writing French was something I didn't do. So I had to, it was a lot of work, but I'm so glad I passed. Let's see what else we got. We need an A2 level of French to relocate to France next year, correct? I don't think so. It depends on the kind of visa that you're going for. I think it depends on the kind of visa you're going for. I think if you, and this may not be correct, so you're going to want to do your due diligence. My understanding is if you're going for a visa that is multi-year, that you're going to need to have some level, I'm not sure what level that is, in order to have a multi-year visa. I think if you are coming on a visitor visa and you're renewing it every year, I'm not sure that you are required to have a language requirement. So, and just, you know, I just know for for French citizenship is B2. I think for a 10-year resident card, I think it's a B1 starting next year. But I think all of that information is online. And so you're going to want to double check. But I don't think that just moving to France means that you need to have a certain level requirement. I think it's depending on the visa type. Okay. This is from Bonnie L. Thank you. I am hoping to move to France within the next year. Do you get overwhelmed sometimes with adjusting to the culture, or do you feel real comfortable now since you have been there for a while? Yeah, I think many things I've adjusted to. I have adjusted to, and sometimes over adjusted to how sometimes like administrative matters take a long time. And I say maybe I've over adjusted because when I had to renew my US passport at the US consulate, and it didn't arrive, I gave them way more time than was needed. And it was kind of lost in the mail. It was, I didn't even want to go down there. It was a nightmare. But I just like, oh yeah, it's going to take a long time because it's administrative. Well, it's an American administrative thing, even though I was dealing with it in France. And so that was one thing that I kind of over adjusted. But there are some things that I think I don't know if I would say they're challenging. They're kind of, I'm aware of them, right? I'm aware that, okay, people are going to aren't necessarily going to give me my personal space. That's a pet peeve of mine. That's still that I've found a way to deal with it, but it's still something I'm aware of. But in general, this feels like home. It feels normal. I've changed my habits of going to the grocery store. If I need to go on Sunday morning, okay, I'm getting up early to make sure I do that. Or if those sorts of things are just now normal for me. So I think most cultural differences I've adjusted to. Knock on wood. Because tomorrow probably something's going to come up and it's going to know the heck out of me. Let's see. Okay. All right. So I think I've covered just about everything. Oh, there were some things that I did want to share with you. I know we're almost at an hour. I didn't really talk about, why reinvention is so hard, and tips to kind of work through that. Reinvention is hard because it means changing habits that, are now habits and they're just automatic. Like, when I was losing weight, I had to be intentional, go grocery shopping and buy the foods that were going to help me lose the weight. On Saturday or Sunday afternoon, I had to cut up my vegetables so I have snacks throughout the week. It took time, right? It wasn't something that was second nature, right? But then, overdoing it again and again and again and again, it started to become a habit. And so changing the habit is the thing that I think makes it so challenging. I think the fear is a big deal. And I think that the lack of belief that it's possible for you to make that shift, to reinvent yourself, gets in the way, right? Well, I want to do this thing. And maybe you even start going down the path of it, but your subconscious belief is saying, oh, who are you fooling? This ain't gonna last but 3 weeks, right? And you're doing the things, and then all of a sudden you get a hiccup, and that subconscious is like, oh yeah, see, and you don't pick, you fall down, you fall off the wagon, whatever, and you don't get back on it. And so I think the lack of belief is a big reason. Competing priorities. This is something that I'm dealing with now. I have written the draft of my third book and revised and revised and revised. And 2 days ago, I was like, maybe I just don't even publish it. Right. I'm like, this is just so tiring. And I had to ask myself, and this is kind of a tip to help you to, move through the things that stop you from actually going all the way and reinventing or having success with your goals. I told myself, Patricia, you need to check in with your why. Why did you start writing the book 3 or 4 years ago? I hate to say that, right? And I say that I was not consistent with my writing 4 years ago. Like I started being consistent in 2023 when I gave myself a deadline of having the draft of it done by the end of 2023. And I got the draft done in January of 2024. So deadlines work. They work like magic. But that, why, what was my reason for wanting to write the book? Well, it was because I thought that my story of moving to France, and the book is all about why I would turn my life upside down so completely without really having a clear plan of what was next or waiting for me here in France, right? And I didn't need that because my intuition was pushing me. But once I got here, and that third week set in, and I realized I got a good paying job and I didn't know anybody in France and my French really wasn't as good as I thought it was. I was scared and I thought, oh, maybe I made a really big mistake, right? And so I wanted to unpack why I had to get to France because it was a compulsion for me. And so that's why I just wanted to write the book, because I thought it would help me to understand, but that it would help others who maybe have a similar feeling like, oh yeah, I need to do this thing. It's not logical, but. And so then I wrote the book and I revised the book. I had a first reader who said, oh yeah, this could be different. If this was different, I think the rest of the book would flow. And so that's where I am now in revising that first chapter so that the rest of the book flows. And I'm tired. It's tiring. And so the thing that I thought, oh, maybe I just don't even do this anymore because I've got a lot going on. I had competing priorities that stopped me from working on it at the beginning of the year, stopped me from looking for a literary agent, which was my goal, to find a literary agent so I could traditionally publish this in January. And I started down that path and I had to put that aside because I was studying for my French exam. And so now here we are in May, I'm like, is this book any good? So there's the doubt, right? Maybe the book won't be successful. Is there a real reason for it? Well, so my original reason, yeah, part of that reason is still there, but I kind of answered my question in the book. I kind of have a sense. I kind of put a bow on that, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. I know now, but do I really need to put this out for other people to read? And so this morning I said, I need to dig into my why now, right? And I journaled and I, came to a different why. It's different from the initial why, but it's something that I can get behind. Having, writing this book, getting this published traditionally will help me in terms of my career. One of the things that I am looking to do is to get on the speaking circuit, right? I want to be a public speaker. At some point, maybe I will do a TEDx talk. But that is a goal of mine, and I think this book can help me to launch that. So that's one reason. But also, this book is filled with lots of insights that could help anybody who is struggling to listen to their intuition, who is just interested in my journey, right? Because I go deep into, my background and, some of the relationship with my family. And so it's a memoir, right? And so that's another reason. And so I said, okay, Patricia, it's a lot of work. I'm not afraid of hard work. And now I have my purpose or my why is reconstructed. And I think that will help me to move this forward. So I'm rededicating myself to it. So, but the why, going back to the why, is key in, why many people don't, reach their goals, is because either they haven't sat down and thought about what their why was in the beginning, and or they don't refer to their why when it gets hard. They're like, okay, why am I doing this in the first place? Oh yeah, that thing. And that thing will, the why will help catapult you to move through and, as I say, stay the course. Other things, revisit your why, understand your deeper reasons. Time blocking, right? So a lot of times we just don't feel like we have the time. And so if we don't give the things that we want to work toward, our dreams or our goals, then they can slip through the cracks, and a day goes by, then another, then a week, then a month, then a year. And then we find ourselves saying, oh yeah, I said I was going to do that thing. I said I was going to lose weight. I said I was going to. And if we don't give it the time it deserves and we don't put it on our calendar, then a lot of times it doesn't get done. So, and then finally, accountability. One of the things I think that has made my losing weight and keeping the weight off for as long as I have, it has been accountability. So when I first started losing the weight, having to get on that scale every week was like, oh, maybe I don't eat that piece of cake because in a couple of days I need to get on that scale and I want to see progress. The accountabilities of the meetings. So, the leader would talk about, a topic of the week, and it would give me, more insights or more inspiration. Oh, maybe I'll try this meal, or maybe I'll try that meal. The other women in the group may be struggling and they're sharing, oh, this happened to me this week. And so I felt like I wasn't alone. So accountability, I think, is huge. Now, once I lost the weight, I did not stop going. I did the first time I went to Weight Watchers. And that, I think, was the death knell for me. I continued to go. And that accountability helped me to keep the weight off. So helped until I got to that place where I felt like, yeah, this is who I am now. I'm a thinner person. I do what thin people do. And it kept the weight off for this long. So I've been prattling on. Other questions before we wrap up? Rider Skater, do you have your French driver's license? Was it difficult to attain? Well, because I lived in a state that has a reciprocal exchange with the driver's license with France. I was able to exchange my Virginia driver's license for a French one. Now, I sweated because in order to do that, if your state has this reciprocal exchange, you need to exchange the driver's license in your first year. Now, when my first year, I moved to Perpignan. I was in a city. I did not have a car, didn't need a car. I thought, oh yeah, at some point I'll get a car. But because I wasn't driving, I didn't think, let me go ahead and take care of that. So then when I finally got a car and needed a French driver's license, it was a year and a half in. And I said, well, let me just try it. Let me see if this will go through. By the time, so I did that at the end of 2019. By the time that I got my appointment, it was just before COVID. It was in January, I think, of 2020. And I went and I had all the papers except for one. And that was something I had back at home, but I didn't know that I needed that. They put all the information in the computer. They gave me my checklist, said, oh, you bring back this. I think there were two things I needed. Bring back this and this. And I said, the thing is, and then you can drop your Virginia driver's license off. And I said, the thing is, I'm going back to the States. I'm going to need that Virginia driver's license. So can I do it when I come back? So I went back to the United States in February 2020, just as COVID was getting underway. And I got stranded in the US until May. So here it is. I needed to do this driver's license exchange in the first year. Here it is. I'm well into my second year. And so when I get back, they have changed the process. They put everything online. I'm like, no, I don't want to have to take this driver's test. Somehow or other, the universe was on my side. I did the online process, and a couple months later they said, "Oh, your driver's license is ready. Send us your Virginia driver's license." And I was successful with the exchange. So the lesson here is, if you are in the United States and you have a driver's license from a state that has the exchange with France, and you're moving to France, exchange it in the first year. Learn from me, please. Good question. Um, ah, will do. Thank you. All right. All right, I'm going to answer one more question, then we're going to wrap up because I know you probably have other things you want to do. La Dolce Vita, why did I choose Serre over Perpignan? Yeah, so when I chose Perpignan initially, it was a place that I had fallen in love with on my second scouting trip in 2017. I had gone oh, maybe it was 2016. Maybe it was my first scouting trip. It was my first scouting trip. I fell in love with it. I'd gone to Toulouse, which is a nice city, but I didn't have that feeling when I was there. And Toulouse is 2 hours by train from Perpignan. I read in a guidebook that Perpignan, Salvador Dali called the train station there the center of the world. And I thought, oh, that's kind of quirky. I kind of want to see the train station. But then there was also a picture of the center of town with the river running through it. I thought, oh, that's pretty. I want to go there. And so I took a day trip there. And it was May. It was a chilly, drizzly day in May. And I just felt something about Perpignan. I'm like, this, I think you just found your new home. It was a day trip. Went back to Toulouse, then on to Lyon, and I couldn't stop thinking about Perpignan. So that's why I chose Perpignan in the first place, because I'd fallen in love with it. And it was great for the first year. But the thing about Perpignan that I couldn't find was the neighborhood that felt like my neighborhood. I wanted a neighborhood that had the bakery, that had its own little market, that felt good to me. And I couldn't find it. And I walked around Perpignan that whole first year. So I did my exploring. And so I thought, oh, I think I'm going to have to go outside the city. And I decided, well, I thought, well, I could go closer to the Mediterranean, to the sea, or I could go closer to the mountains. And because I am an earth sign, the mountains feel really grounding to me. And I had come to Surrey early on in my first year to the market here. There's a lovely market here every Saturday. And it didn't really strike me. It wasn't like, oh yeah, I think I want to move there. It was like, okay, this is nice. This is quaint. But when I was looking for my next place to live, I was getting ready to apply for my new visa. I needed another address. I thought, let me go and see if that could be the place. And I really didn't really have like that feeling that I had in Perpignan. It wasn't like, oh yes, you need to live here. But I thought, well, I'm going to try it for a year. If I don't like it, then I can move someplace else. But for me, it's just being so close to the Pyrenees Mountains, at the foothills of the Pyrenees. I can walk 5 minutes and I'm in nature. The center of town there are several restaurants, and it's quite lively here in the spring and the summer. We have festivals and there's a lot going on. And so the fact that it's that community that I was looking for, that neighborhood that I was looking for, but that is the whole village. So that's why I chose Surrey and left Perpignan. All right. Absolutely last question. Sheree Wilson, did you get 12-month health insurance your first year? I am now working on my long-term renewable visa and have been told that it is a must. So what I got was a year's worth of travel insurance. So it wasn't major medical, but they wanted to make sure that, something happened to me, I could be airlifted out. But it wasn't, as I said, major medical. And I the travel insurance company I used was called Seven Corners. Now, I never had to use it, so I don't know if they're any good, when you need to use it, but that is who I used. All right. I want to thank everybody who joined live. I want to thank everybody who has watched the replay for making this such an amazing live stream. And I want to remind you that if you are a woman and you are ready to turn over a new leaf, to try something new, create a new habit, make a big reinvention in your life, and you would like support in creating your reinvention plan and really get started working on it, then you need to be at the May 17th Women Rising Roundtable. Once again, you can go to thecouragecatalyst.com /roundtable, and I'll put the link back in the comments again, in the chat again, so you can take advantage of that. And also, you heard a lot about my programs and my coaching calls, my coaching programs. If you're interested in that, go ahead and schedule some time with me to see how, which kind of coaching is right for you. And I'll put that in the comments as well. This little Grammarly's in the way. It's a discovery call. And I look forward to seeing you on another live stream. I look forward to seeing you at the Women Rising Roundtable. I look forward to seeing you on a discovery call, or perhaps even an information session. All right. So thank you again for joining me today. And I will see you next time. Take care. Bye for now.